Get started whenever you want to.
Sounds good. All right, welcome to the Village of Horseheads Board of Trustees meeting. The date is Thursday, April 17th, and the time is 6 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed via Zoom, which can be accessed via the village's website at horseheads.org. Also, this meeting is being recorded for posting to adhere to the recommendation of the New York State Committee of Open Governance. Please call the roll for attendance.
Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
Here.
Here. Trustee Kolowski.
Here.
Trustee Simcox.
Here.
Mayor Adams.
Here. Please stand and join me in saying the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, I welcome any person in attendance to approach the podium. If you so wish, please provide us with your name and address. As a reminder, this is for public comment, not a dialogue with the Board of Trustees. Additionally, the board asks you to limit your comments to a maximum of 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Judy Driscoll, 344 Day Street. I was able to pick up the village budget. I picked that up here at the village office after you did your thing with it. I do have a lot of questions that I couldn't possibly ask in 3 minutes. I don't know if you have any time where you go over this stuff. I mean, everything's just bunched together. So like Parks and Recreation has money allocated to it, but I have no idea what it's for. I don't know if pickleball courts are included in that or if they're not. And that's obviously why I've been coming to every meeting, was to fight for these pickleball courts. So I think the other thing is on this, a budget is an estimate. It's just, an educated guess, I should say, on what it's gonna be. And what we're looking at here is the difference between last year's budget and this year's budget. But we have no idea what was actually spent. So it really doesn't mean an awful lot to me. There's lots of things in here that I would question, what is this for and what is that for, but in a matter of time. Communication is really, really important. I just feel that we're not getting any communication anymore. I'm reading things online, and I know George has mentioned that you can't believe everything you read, and I know that. But there's been a lot on there about a sign at Teal Park. Well, how do the people know about this? I've gotten no communication that says we're looking at putting a sign at Teal Park, and I've come to the last month and a half of meetings, and nothing's even been mentioned about a sign at Teal Park. I just feel like we're not communicating to the people, and maybe I don't want to believe what they're saying. Maybe we aren't looking at a Teal Park sign, but it seemed like an awful lot of people were going on there and saying, yeah, it's gonna be 37,000, or it's gonna be, and we're looking at movie screens that blow up, and I'm going, well, I don't know where they're getting the information, because nobody's giving it to me. But that's basically what I had to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Robin Sikorsky. I live and work in the village. This is my first meeting and I'm terrified, so have mercy.
Absolutely, Robin.
I have also been reading a lot of things. I'm a fairly new resident, so I've been trying to educate myself on, what goes on in the village and what's important to my neighbors and what we're spending money on. And I've seen a lot of talk in the recent weeks about the parks, and the pool is important to me, but as a local resident, Teal Park is important to me. And the sign, as the previous speaker mentioned, I came home for like, I got the afternoon off from work to come here and they have nothing, but Teal Park doesn't need an electric sign, and it's a space of green that we have concerts, and I like to go and sit and read and enjoy days like today. It's right across the street from the library, so that's more of a community hub to where if people needed information, they could go across the street or even come here and ask questions here. I just feel like a neon sign, an electric sign, any kind of sign there would take away from just the peacefulness of that park, and this feels like the wrong fit. That's all I have to say, thank you.
Robin, you did an amazing job. You can approach.
You got this, girl.
I have lived Horsens for 60 years. And, I have swam at Thorn Street Pool. My children swam at Thorn Street Pool. My grandchildren swim there. I bet you can't guess what I'm here for. I think it's real important for the pool to be open and running for people, families to come and have that cookouts. We do cookouts. I live right across the street. We'll take our stuff and go across the street just to have a picnic. So I think that it's for family sakes. It's important. I think that it partly keeps kids off the streets. I grew up in the era of the youth bureau. If y'all know, you know the youth bureau. And that's what kept me and my brothers out of trouble. We would go there, play games, do activities. We'd go on field trips. We actually went grape tying the vines one year. It was a blast. So that's what children need now, is that kind of structure where they're invited and, keep the basketball courts. I'm interested in pickleball. I think it seems interesting. So I'm not really in for the stuff in Teal Park. Maybe not a big old blow up sign, but maybe something where it introduces, there is a billboard type thing there where you post like the groups that are playing during the summer. My mom always attended. So I think that's what, I don't see a lot of kids hanging out there. I think they just think that's old people's park. I took my wedding pictures up in the gazebo thing there, okay, so it's an important part of my family, so. That's all I have to say, sorry, I'm a little perched.
Thank you.
That means you've been going to that park for 55 years.
Oh, just about.
Almost as long as I had. I started going there in 56. It was built in 54. My name is Al Edwards, for those of you who don't know. I just want to mention a couple things. I've heard discussions about various things. I just want to provide a little input. Concession stand, restrooms at Teal Park. Recommendation, take a look at a decent food truck. Stop and think about it. You're gonna build something at Teal Park that will get used maybe 10 times a year. You're gonna have to maintain it. You're gonna have to winterize it. With a food truck or a little trailer, you can go to Hanover Square, you can go to Thorn Street. You can actually develop a contract, shared services, with the town of Horseheads for the BMX track. Anyway, it could also be a youth enterprise. When we did food service at Teal Park, the youth bureau, it was kids did it. Second item, sign. Little history. About 2010, I believe, there was a proposal by St. Matthew's Church to put a digital sign in their front yard. Not these people, but the village board, the manager and the mayor were all opposed. Because it was a residential neighborhood. So they turned the church down. The church, which had been used for Teal Park concerts for 20 years for the restrooms, decided that they weren't gonna do that anymore. So all of a sudden, the village was struck with the problem of having to do restrooms. And the solution that the village came up with solved the problem, but time and wear and tear essentially determined that needs to go in a different direction. The sign down there, if you're gonna try to read it when you're driving by, is that the same thing as reading your phone? In a way it is. It's a distraction. The other thing is primarily gonna be Teal Park concerts. So somehow those people find out, either the village's website. We used to hand out a little handbill that had all the dates and the different bands on there. Might give some thought to updating the sign at the fire hall. I go by that probably 5 times a week. And a lot of other people do as well. Park planning. I would suggest you have some type of a forum for people to come in and make some suggestions in regard to what's on their minds. I know pickleball is. There's been discussions about 9 pickleball courts, or maybe 4 or 5, and you know, that needs to be assessed and determined. The idea though is park planning. What do you want to do in that area of the tennis courts? As Judy mentioned, the word's not out. People aren't hearing what you want to do. And you need to kind of hear what they have to say. Then go in that direction. And I would highly recommend that could be, a lot of that could be done in-house. The footprint at the holding point was done by myself and Mark Cronin. That's after Bob Chapman actually bought the property. It turned out pretty well. The pool. I'm 95% sure it's gonna open. But the village hasn't announced that it's gonna open. The result is, you have a Facebook page that's blowing you guys up. You know how you end that? Have a press conference over at the pool. And announce the pool will be open this year.
When did we announce?
I'm sure the county health department will work with you. And, you know, I look at these guys over here, Don Gaylord did the concrete, the last time that was rehabbed. I think that was 93. 91. Okay. That's worked out pretty well. He saw a miracle happen, the corner of the pool popped up, I'm not sure why, but it no longer leaked in that corner. That guy has worked miracles. Sean has, I've seen it. Power to the DPW in terms of making that pool open. In regard to the youth bureau, I wanna thank Becky for that shout out. That's not the village's fault. And with shared services and with some negotiation, something needs to be done about that. Because share one little thing with you. The youth bureau logged 3,500 hours, kid hours, each year, volunteer work. Holidays, we were right in here. face paint, sand art, all kinds of things.
Murals,
Murals,
the one in the church, I helped do.
right? The mural at Thorn Street on the building, the flag mural. If kids could reach it, they could paint that part of the mural. They couldn't get up on the scaffolding. There were probably 6 or 7 rec staff that did that. It was pretty phenomenal. That and the mural that Mike Smith did over by the lounge, Beast Lounge, those are the first 2 real murals that Horseheads had. It was a nice one in high school, Horseheads High School, but it wasn't very public. Anyway, just food for thought. Get input in a formal manner from the community. People want to have confidence in the village board. And George, you're right. A lot of stuff you hear on Facebook, it's junk, but there's also real concerns there. And you're sharp enough to discern the difference between the good stuff and the bad stuff. Okay, thank you for your time and looking forward to that press conference. Thanks.
I'm down a little, y'all probably know me by now. I just wanted to bring something up because I'm reading your thing, we have here Mayor Adams on the facts. The fluoride added to our water is purified, tested and improved. It's not an industrial waste product, then what is it if it's not a waste product? What is it? Because I don't understand that because I have other conflicting information. You say it is not banned in most countries. It is banned in most countries. You say countries use fluoride in table salt or milk rather than drinking water. If so, that's a choice for the people to drink the milk or to use the salt. We don't have that choice when it's in our water. You disagree with fluoride causes lower IQ. They're studying that now. I have this, the EPA is opening up a study to see if this is definitely something we need to look at, because it's concerning for our children. So fluoridation has gone on for 70 years, but that doesn't mean it should continue. The scientific consensus now is that fluoride does not work systemically. It does not prevent cavities when swallowed, but it does carry real risks, especially for children. This is the thing, it's for children. It is a neurotoxin, that's a fact. There's no way to control individual dosage. There is no way to control it. Someone who drinks more water is gonna get more. Someone who drinks less is gonna get less, but it's in our food too. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's a great, there's oatmeal, black tea, soda, crab and shrimp, with flavored water beverages, wine, which I like, coffee, raisins, light beer, all kinds of vegetables, cooked vegetables, baked potatoes, rice, oysters, asparagus. I didn't even know that. That was new to me. I'm like, really? It's in the food too? Okay, so we are getting it. This is naturally occurring because it is from our Earth's crust. So an 8-ounce serving of Gerber's white grape juice contains 1.6 milligrams of fluoride. That's quite a bit for an 8-ounce serving of Gerber's. A Diet Coke is 0.53. Black tea is 7.8, which is way over the recommended. Infant formula, soy-based, is 0.5 per 8-ounce serving. So just 2 servings of that formula could exceed the ADA's tolerable upper intake for infants. That's really concerning because we're back to the children now. If this is going to affect the children. Even fluoride toothpaste warns of overdose. A pea-sized amount contains 0.5 milligrams of fluoride. And the FDA mandates that a poison control warning be on every tube of toothpaste. Says call poison control if accidentally swallowed. And yet these toothpaste are flavored and marketed directly to children. How many are really using just a pea-sized amount? And how many are swallowing it? And it's adding more than even the American Dental Association is saying you should have. And this is our children again. So we're already surrounded by fluoride. And adding it to the water forces everyone to consume it, whether they want to or not. In my opinion, that is mass medication without consent. And I won't revisit all the other negative effects of fluoride, because I think I made my concerns pretty clear. But I am asking for clarification on something you said during the first meeting. You stated, if we get the grant, then we will add the fluoride. If we don't get the grant, then we won't add the fluoride. That sounds like a decision has already been made. Has a formal vote already been taken?
This is the comment section, so
Oh,
continue on.
okay. Well, then that's a question. Has a formal vote, because that's what you stated, so I'm trying to follow up on that. And I guess I want to ask a broader question. Do you believe people have the right to make personal decisions about their health? Because I do. Ethically, this is a question of freedom and personal responsibility. Healthcare should always prioritize informed choice. I don't know anybody who would disagree with that. Where do our individual rights go with something like this? So I hope you'll seriously consider these questions, and maybe I can get some answers to them too, because I don't know, what's going on, because what I was told, and I'm not sure that's real or factual. So, and as far as the fluoride in the water here being safe and tested, I thought the water report wasn't done yet for 2024. That was last week we talked about that, and it's not out yet?
We didn't talk last week, right?
I mean, the last time.
Yeah,
So that's not out yet?
it is. It's on the
Oh, it is out
website.
yet?
Yep,
Okay, all right, we'll look at that then. Thank you.
thank you.
My name is Carol Strong and I live here in the village. And Al, I am very glad, are you still here?
How are you?
I'm glad to hear that we're gonna have a press conference because I know many, many, many people that are very upset about the pool. And you probably read about it online, but I used to walk through the swamp to get to that pool. Back when I was a little kid living in Liberty Street. And I would get the bulrushes, I would go over to the school or the pool at 10 o'clock in the morning. If I had my chores done. Cost me 15 cents, I think, to get in the pool, and I'm not sure, it might have been 10 cents. And we would go for 2 hours in the morning, and then they close the pool for an hour, and we'd go make boondoggles. And we'd play, and the lifeguards would eat their lunch or whatever they did in that hour. Put chemicals in the pool, and then we go back. And we stayed there all day, we didn't have mom and dad with us, we had us. And we love that pool, our generation loves that pool. We don't like what's happened to that pool. That pool has been totally neglected right now, and there's no reason for it. I take my grandkids to Suggit Park. Anybody know where that is? About 3 times a year, we just drive up to Portland. They've got a huge, gorgeous pool. They've got a splash pad. They've got 2 playgrounds. One of the playgrounds is special needs. It's got thick, beautiful stuff so that if a child that's got special needs falls, they don't get hurt. Cost nothing for that park. You go up there and it's free. The pool, the playgrounds, everything is free. How does that community do that? I don't know. I'm not up there, but I don't know how they do it. But I'll tell you, I'm 73 and since I was 5 years old, I think I was when I first went to that pool. Don't get rid of our pool. Fix it. It's worth it. We'll do fundraisers if we have to. Just ask, I'll help. Okay, I don't care. What?
I'll help.
Well, we'll all help. The other thing is, she's right. I'm sorry, but she's right. The fluoride is now in front of Congress. They're taking
All right, we'll close out audience participation and move on to receivement of the minutes. This is for the Board of Trustees meeting of April 3rd and April 10th.
I know that Marlene was on, is that working? Cause you texted me before I got here.
Let's scroll over to see Marlene.
Kathy Woodruff might be on there too, but I know both of them reached out to me.
All right, well, we see nobody with Marlene or Kathy there.
Maybe they couldn't-
All right, so we'll move on to April 4th, April 3rd, and April 10th. Village Board of Trustee meeting. Trustees having given the minutes prior to this meeting and having a chance to review, is there any comments, questions, or concerns about the minutes? With that being shown, the record shows unanimous approval of those minutes for those two meetings. Old business, setting the public hearing for the tentative 2025-2026 village budget.
Be it resolved that a public hearing regarding the tentative 2025-26 village budget is hereby scheduled for Thursday, April 24th. That should say 2025 at 6:05 p.m. Be it further resolved, village manager Nathan Nagel was directed to cause the tentative budget to be published on the village's website as soon as practical and to invite public comments regarding same by any safe and available communication, including but not limited to correspondence to 202 South Main Street, Horseheads, New York, email to nnagel@horseheads.org, and telephone to 739-5691. All such comments will be noted and become part of the record of the public hearing and will be given due consideration.
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote.
Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye.
Trustee Polowski.
Aye.
Trustee Penerbrook.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. All right, discussion on the LRC property has been tabled to May 1st, so we will revisit it then. Moving on to new business, the CFA MPR grant, which is the Consolidated Funding Grant application for the Municipal Park and Recreation Grant Program, along with the New York Swim Grant. Nate?
So part of our village policy and procedures, in order to write a grant, we have to give you the project summary of it. It's basically letting you know that department heads or myself, or a vendor is writing a grant on our behalf. What you have in front of you is a CFA Municipal Park and Recreation Grant. Maximum amount of this grant is 1 million. The local share on this will be 100,000. The project on this will be for tennis courts and pickleball courts. The grant is due May 2nd. We are working with Southern Tier Central and Hunt Engineering in the preparation of this grant.
Trustees, any comments, questions, or concerns about applying for this grant?
Sir. No, Mayor.
With that being so said, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye.
Trustee Polowski.
Aye.
Trustee Penerbrook.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Did you want the resolution read?
No.
Okay.
We move on to the authorizing of the contract with Southern Tier Central. You're gonna have to help with the other letters of that, but we know it's STC. All yours, Nate.
So this authorizes myself to enter into an agreement with Southern Tier Central. They will be writing the grant not only for the Municipal Park and Recreation, but they will also be writing the grant for the New York Swims. The New York Swims grant, like we have talked about several times before, will come available as a second round once the state passes the budget and the assumption that New York Swims is in the budget. At that time, we will be applying for a $5 million grant for renovation of both the pool and the pool building. The agreement with Southern Tier Central is $3,500 to write both of those grants.
Trustees, comments, questions, concerns about this agreement?
And if I can add, just going back to that New York Swims grant, that grant will actually be an 80-20. So on the $5 million grant, the village will have to come up with $1 million as its local share. So between the two grants, we're looking at $6 million worth of project and grant work. The village has to come up with 1.1 million as its local share.
And as you stated before, last year when you wrote the grant that we got denied on some technicalities that have been resolved, and
Correct.
so we should be moving forward and be in a better position this year on this.
Yeah,
I mean,
but last
We don't
year.
know what Albany's gonna decide, but.
Correct, yeah, just as going back into that, we lost points in the grant because we were not able to show the project in the budget. Last year when we wrote the grant, it was strictly for the pool. Since then, we've been able to do a study on the pool building. That's why we're including the pool building, that's why it's gonna go from a $2.X million to a $5 million project, because it's gonna be pool building and pool. Okay, one of my concerns on the NPR grant is grantees, the ones with the money, they wanna see non-bias studies being performed by third parties, like a feasibility study. They don't wanna see a Facebook survey. They don't wanna see a pamphlets handed out at different events saying pick 1, 2, or 3. They want engineered, professional studies done. So one of my fears is we may lose points because there is a section on points regarding this in the NPR grant. If we don't get the NPR grant, there will be a second round and we'll prepare better for that one. But the idea is to get enough points to get the grant, but I know we won't get 100. But to your question, we've gone through and we corrected what we didn't have last year, where we've put the 5 million in the budget. We've put the 1 million as a local share in the budget. So they now are able to see that. We have the studies both for the pool and for the pool house that we can now add to it, as well as the schematics. So yes, we are in better shape for the New York Swims grant than we were last year. Now we just wait for the state to pass their budget before we can even apply for it. Is it gonna take effect in, and even at that point, we still have to do all the engineering and everything else before projects can actually take place. But to answer your question, we're in better shape this year than we were last year.
And the unfortunate part is that it boils down to politics, because as you said last year, most municipalities that did get part of the grant were a Democratic based.
Of the 190 million that was available last year, 158 million was on the eastern coast of New York State, from Albany down to New York City. That's where 158 out of the 190 million went. Chemung County received 200,000 out of 190 million.
Does that mean just Chemung County Parks and Pool?
Chemung County as a whole.
As a whole, did we get any of that?
No, we were denied.
Okay,
Yeah, we applied for 2.2, I think it was.
is it because our pool is under the Village of Horseheads? That's why they denied us?
There's many reasons. People have their philosophical reasons as to red, blue, pink, purple, it doesn't matter. Bottom line is we didn't get it. When you look around the state, like I said, when 158 million out of 190 million goes from Albany to New York City, that doesn't leave a lot for the rest of New York State. And it was a pretty competitive grant. My hope this year is those people that received the monies, they don't need any more money. And that whatever they're putting into the budget this year can get spread throughout the rest of the state.
Would those municipalities that applied last year and got the grant, would they be able to apply once again this year for more monies? Do you know?
It's always possible.
Politics, right?
It's always possible on how they do it, yeah. I mean, you might have a community that has, they wrote a grant last year for pools 1 and 2, but they've got 5 pools in their inventory. So they might write another grant this year for pools 3 and 4 and 5. I can't answer that question, but I'm sure grants are as grants are. It's not one of those, you get one, you're done.
Okay, thank you.
Would that pool was built in when?
Our pool,
Our pool?
52, 53, something like that, I think it was, 54. Yeah.
It opened in August.
And
Yep.
I don't know of any major repairs that we've done over those 54 years. So it's, the pool has lasted well, and it's time we.
Oh, there's Yeah, there's been some major repairs done. You know, like they were just talking earlier, in 91, new decking was put in, new pipes were put in as far as on the gutter system. You put a new filter plant in, about that same time frame. So no, there's been significant work done over the years. Absolutely. And I guess I'll just take this time. I don't know whoever said the pool was gonna be closed. But it has always been the intention of the village to have the pool open. And I made comment at our last board meeting that there was a board that wanted to close the pool down. And I was the only one here that fought for that pool. And I got disciplined as a department head, arguing the trustees about keeping that pool open. So I don't know where the rumor started that we were closing the pool, but it was never going to be closed.
You would agree that it definitely needs maintenance.
And what we're saying is there's a difference between those two things, right? We're saying that the rumor of it being closed is different than it needing maintenance.
Right, but as much maintenance as it needed on the inside, it made you wonder, well, is nobody taking care of this? I mean, I wondered myself many times, is anybody even caring for this pool?
And I wondered the same thing, and that's why I ran for mayor. Remember, it's been, if 1991 was the last time major renovations have happened, that's over 30 years ago. And it was a kick of the can, which is why this board has decided to go after, and like we see with the county, with a $275 million sewer plant. Because routine maintenance wasn't done, we can argue on what's routine maintenance or not, we are now spending a lot more money because of it.
Exactly. I agree totally.
Yeah, and that's why, for the first time ever, this budget has $6 million in it with 5 million, because there again, that would be more than what the village has in its entire savings account. So we definitely don't want to liquidate our entire savings account, as we have other operations that we need to also provide for. So that's why these grants are critical in this, and why once the new pool is up and going, a maintenance plan needs to also be issued so that we know that we're properly funding it and properly taking care of it, so that we're not back in this situation 30, 40, 50 years later.
So back to the topic at hand is authorizing myself to enter into an agreement with Southern Tier Central to write these two grants.
Do I have a motion for that?
Make a motion. I second that motion.
Roll call vote.
Deputy Mayor Goodman.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Trustee Malinsky.
Aye.
Trustee Paul.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. Now we move on to the seeker for the grant of $1 million, which is the CFA NPR grant project for tennis and pickleball courts at Thorn Street.
All right, so this seeker is actually is a requirement of the application. So we have to perform this seeker, submit it with the application. Otherwise, you are not eligible to apply for said grant. So that's why we are doing the seeker part 2. You do have seeker part 1 in your packet. The seeker part 1 is strictly a overview of the project that simply reads: the Village of Horseheads is pursuing improvements to its municipal Thorn Street Park. The project shall include upgrading the existing but aging basketball court, installation of up to 2 tennis courts, and installation of up to 8 pickleball courts. The project will be phased based upon funding availability. The basketball courts will not be addressed because the prints that I have worked on and the prints that I've worked on with Hunt Engineering pushes the project to over $1 million. So the basketball courts will go to next year's NPR fund that we would possibly apply for. Okay, this project is strictly for tennis and pickleball.
And they're gonna be at
Thorn Street.
Thorn Street.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we need to,
Rachel, you want to read part 2? Or Kevin, do you want to be part
No,
two?
Rachel can do that.
Item number 1, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations?
No.
Number 2, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
No.
Number 3, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
Number 4, will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
No.
Number 5, will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonable available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the proposed action impact existing A, public or private water supply?
No.
B, public or private wastewater treatment utilities?
No.
Number 8, will the proposed action impair the quality or character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
Number 9, will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna?
No.
Number 10, will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
Number 11, will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
Okay, that completes seeker part 2. We do have a resolution, declaring no negative, impacts regarding part 2. And this one should be read.
All right. Whereas the village of Horseheads hereinafter the village maintains the Thorn Street Municipal Park. And whereas the village is proposing to conduct improvements to the park, including basketball court improvements, installation of tennis courts, and installation of pickleball courts, collectively the project. And whereas the village is obligated under seeker and corresponding regulation to review the project, and if necessary, undertake a review of potential environmental impacts associated with the project before undertaking the same. And whereas the village is the appropriate agency to be the lead agency to undertake the project review under seeker, and whereas based upon an examination of 6 NYCRR section 617.4 and section 617.5, the village classified the project as an unlisted action. A short environmental assessment form was prepared for the project pursuant to 6 NYCRR section 617.6B. An uncoordinated review was undertaken by the village. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the village board hereby makes the following findings. The project improvements to the existing but aging basketball courts, installation of tennis courts, and installation of pickleball courts. The project will be phased based upon availability of funding. It is further resolved that the village board hereby designate itself lead agency pursuant to 6 NYCRR section 617.6B2 and section 617.6B3 with respect to the project. It is further resolved that based upon the examination of the components of the project, the short environmental assessment form, and the criteria contained in 6 NYCRR section 617.7C, and based on its knowledge of areas including and surrounding the project site, the village board, as lead agency, hereby makes the following determinations with respect to the project pursuant to seeker. A, the project constitutes an unlisted action. B, based upon review by the village board of the short environmental assessment form, any input provided by other involved agency and other necessary criteria set forth in seeker, the village board hereby finds and determines that the project will result in no significant impacts, and therefore, A, the action is not one which may include the potential for at least one significant adverse environmental impact. B, there will be no significant adverse environmental impact. And C, No environmental impact statement need to be prepared, as such quoted terms are defined in seeker. This determination constitutes a negative declaration for the purposes of seeker, and it has been prepared in accordance with Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law. C, a copy of this resolution, together with a notice of negative declaration, shall be placed on file in the office of the village clerk, where the same shall be available for public inspection during business hours, and such notice of negative declaration shall be filed in such offices, posted in such places, and published in such manner as shall be necessary to conform with the requirements of seeker. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately.
So moved.
Second that.
Roll call vote.
Deputy Mayor Goodman.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye.
Trustee Kalawowski.
Aye.
Trustee Penabrata.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. All right, we now move on to the ECTC TIP grant to increase in local share.
All right, so this grant, we had talked about, in early February. This is the grant that I came to you and indicated that this was going to be a road improvement grant. That was being offered through Chemung County. It's using federal monies. This was the grant that it was going to be either for construction year 26, 27, 28, 29, or 30. You recall the grant that I'm talking about? All right, so the Village of Horseheads, one other community, and Chemung County applied for this federal grant. Okay, it appears that right now that we will receive that grant. However, because of changes in the grant, we now have to have the entire piece engineered, which we knew already. It's not the engineering piece. It has to go out to bid to 15 engineers that the federal government has shortlisted. It's going to take this project from 1.75 million to 2 million. Our local share on this will now be 400,000. Okay, so it's just discussion. I'm just bringing it to your attention to what this particular grant is now going to be. It's going to be a $2 million grant with our local share being 400,000. Keeping in mind, as I've talked about all other grants, these are all reimbursable grants. Okay, I'll talk more about the reimbursable grants in my report, but I want to bring you up to speed in regards to that's what we are now in for this particular grant.
And this is up and above CHIPS, of course.
Yes.
And CHIPS really isn't a
Yes,
grant.
now this particular grant and construction will take place during the 2027 construction season. So not this budget year that we're preparing for, the following.
And as you said, we're using the short list that they're giving us for engineers. Or where do we come up with the
They will provide us
list out?
the 15 engineers that the bid will have to go out to. Don, is that the way you understood it?
So if we gotta spend 400 to get 1.6, that's
400 to get 2 million.
good to
Yep.
get to, yeah, then that's a good deal.
Okay, again, that was just discussion to bring you up to speed. That was just the next agenda item, I believe.
Any more questions, trustees? All right, we will move on to the fire department officers. We have Chief Wheeler here. Chief, do you want to say something? Or any intro before we read the resolution?
Yes, once you officially approve it, thanks for past year of service and look forward to all your serving the village.
Thank you, Chief. Trustees, do we have any questions on this resolution? All right, let's read it. Whereas at General Convention of the Village of Horseheads Fire Department, known as Department, and the annual meeting of Horseheads Fire and Rescue Company Incorporated Company were both held on April 2nd, 2025, and the members of the same held an election at which time the following individuals received the most votes for nomination for appointment to the respective department or company offices. Office of Chief, Ryan D. Wheeler. First Assistant Chief, Richard Skibby. Second Assistant Chief, Joseph Reed. Third Assistant Chief, Arthur Sullivan. Captain, 1011, Troy Barkham. Captain, 1012, Carl Benitez. Captain, 1013, Thomas Skibby. Lieutenant, 1014, Thomas Margison. Lieutenant, 1015, Michael Schrock. Lieutenant, 1016, Michael Donor. Lieutenant, 1017, Michael Schrock.
That's a duplicate.
Okay, so we don't have a Lieutenant 1017, correct?
The safety officer might take that number or.
Okay.
Don't remember what number he's gonna be assigned.
Sounds good. Let the record show that. And then the safety officer is also not Michael Schrock, but Michael Kartychek. And whereas the bylaws of the company and the rules and regulations of the department empower the Board of Fire Commissioners to consider the nominations and appoint such persons to the office to which they are nominated. And whereas this board has considered the nominees and the offices that they are nominated to fill. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Village of Horseheads Board of Trustees, acting as fire commissioners of the Horseheads Fire Department, does hereby appoint the above-mentioned individuals as officers of the department or company to hold the office noted effectively immediately, and to run for a term of 1 year or until a successor is appointed or a vacancy otherwise occurs in such office.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mayor Clifford.
Aye.
Trustee Gross.
Aye.
Trustee Kalawowski.
Aye.
Trustee Finnebrand.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye. We now move on to reports, village manager.
All right, so there's been quite a bit of discussion on this grant that's due on May 2nd. What is definitely needed and definitely wanted is letters of support to be written. These letters of support cannot be in the form of an email, but I can receive them by email with an attachment of a PDF or of a Word document, but I cannot submit an email. I would like to have letters of support for those that wish to support this project by next week. That way we can get those to the grant writer and they can be implemented into the application. We are working on a template letter for those that do not wish to write their own letter. More of a letter that everybody could sign, and we will have that letter probably available first part of next week. Okay, but it would definitely be more beneficial that it was not a template letter that gets submitted with 100 names on it, but rather enough 100 letters supporting this that goes in with the entire packet. Okay, and again, this would be just for the tennis pickleball court project. We'll be reaching out for the New York Swims when we get to that stage.
And this is for the community, right?
Yes, yes, yes. This is for anybody that wishes to support the project. Yes.
Where would the template letter be found, or is that for you guys?
Nope,
No.
we'll put that on the website and the Facebook Parks and Rec. Yep.
Most of everything that I have tonight is really Parks and Recreation related. We have a volleyball program that starts on Monday. We had 90 available spots. All 90 spots are filled. We have an Easter egg hunt this Saturday. That Easter egg hunt will take place out at the holding point. Check-in is at 1:30. The hunt will start at 2 o'clock. And right now we have 131 pre-registered. On Sunday, April 27th is the I Love My Park Day. Right now, we have 33 out of the 250 anticipated volunteers registered. Playground units, they have been delivered. Tentatively, the installation will start the week of May fifth. The installers are working on a different project at this time.
What was that date? I'm sorry.
The week of May fifth. Yep. Now that's tentative. The installers that we have, they are working on other projects at this, or another project. My original goal was to have these playground units available for use Memorial Day weekend. We probably are not gonna meet that deadline. That was with the anticipation that the installers could have started last week installing the equipment. Okay, so more than likely, they will not be ready for use Memorial Day weekend. I apologize for that. I'm not the installing company. We're kind of at their mercy at this point. Once they install, then we will work on the drainage, putting in the stone, putting in the fabric, putting in pipe, as well as then putting in the wood chips. Okay, there's no question in my mind that people will use the playground equipment before all of that is in there. Just like they jump into the pool as soon as they see water in it. The same thing they did in July 31st, 1954. People jumped in the pool before it officially opened. Some of you may already be in this room that jumped the fence. And apparently I'm right because people are giggling, so I'm just saying, I anticipate that to occur. Non-park recreation related, we did take delivery today of a new water truck that was purchased with the ARPA funds. So that was delivered today. We've already got it under insurance. We'll get it plated next week and in use. We have made offer to an individual for the water clerk position. Start date for this individual, assuming clear background check, will be May 1st. And that will complete the entire clerk's office as far as employees. Now, all of you that know my history, whenever I tell you that I have just hired somebody, our part-time court clerk has resigned. So we're starting over there. Okay, I believe that is all I have. As always, I've always been available to answer questions regarding the budget, regardless of who asked the question. And that remains true. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. We'll move on to department heads, starting with
The clerk's office, we're starting about our new, and new, member for the water.
I know she's highly qualified.
I know she's very good.
Donnie, what do we got?
Police department, they're doing the ADA ramp for the paving projects roads this year, because they poured some this week, we'll be pouring more next week. Drywall all rebuilt and cleaned for the whole paving project. Brush pickup started 2 weeks ago, just for 2 weeks this week, we don't do it every day, but it's needed, and, it's going good, no problem, no complaints yet, so we're happy. That's keeping us busy right there, doing all that. Bill Lassell, who's a new working, training, to be the water supervisor, and Joe Ryan is the water operator trainee, finished their second license course last week. So now they both passed the test for the 2A license and the B licenses. So once they over a year in the system, then they can get licensed, because it takes a whole year of training before they're eligible to be licensed, so.
Will they have more classes after that, or is that it?
Bill's gonna go to one more in May, it's a D license, it's not necessary to be a licensed operator, but we need one in the system. I have one, and
That's the D.
Dangle had one.
Yeah.
So if we feel he needs one, and I step out, and we'll still have the two. So, but other than that, everything is going good.
Thank you, Donnie. John,
All is well, thank you.
thank you. Chief Wheeler.
Thank you for the appointment again as fire chief. Look forward, like I said, to serve another year. Heard a lot of discussion out here about people willing to volunteer to help paint Teal Park, painting Thorn Street Park. Well, I was accepting applications at the fire department, if anybody wants to come help out. Just to paint a little picture, yesterday, got up at 3:30 in the morning, go to a couple EMS calls. Came home on my way home from work, my son called me, asked where I was. We're on our way to Milford for a structure fire. So anybody wants to come join us, more than happy to take you, men, women, young, old, as long as you're over 18 years old. We'll train you, we'll teach you, come join us, it's a good time.
Thank you.
All right, we move on to reports from trustees and mayor, starting with Deputy Mayor Goodwin.
We appreciate the privilege of your time this evening. And it's nice to see residents here. Next time, bring your neighbors or your friends, because it'd be nice to have a full house. I dream of people standing outside the door and they can't wait to get in here, which would be nice.
Bill, we've had those nights and they're not all that great.
I know. It sounded good, though. It sounded good.
Tries to sound good.
Yes, it does.
But thank you for coming and we appreciate your time. That's all I have, Mayor.
Trustee Gross.
It's nice to see everybody here. It's nice to have your opinions expressed in a meeting so we can all look at it and work forward. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Kawasaki.
Just want to touch quickly on the fluoride thing. And I know we've heard from professionals on both sides of the equation, for and against. But nobody's really talked about fluoride itself or fluorine. It's in the Earth's crust. It's the 13th most common element in the Earth's crust. It's in the rocks, it's in the soil, it's absorbed through plants, as Donna said. One of the biggest things is tea, coffee, raisins, where when we eat those, drink those things, we're getting way above the normal amount that we should have. And I've heard before that it's banned in Europe. No, it's not banned in Europe. Yes, they are adding it to the salt, they're adding it to the milk, but it's not banned in Europe. It's banned in China, it's banned in India. It's banned in China and India.
But it's not banned in Europe?
No.
Only 2% of Europe uses fluoride.
But it's not banned in Europe.
Potatoes, potatoes.
So, India and China, because the levels are so high, naturally occurring, they don't have to ban it. So, you know, we talk about this, I've read about it, like I say, looking just as a fluoride aspect. It's around us, we're not going to get away from it, it's in well water around here. It's, so we can blame the village for this, we can blame Elmira, we can blame every other municipality. I guess one other thing I looked at quickly was New York, the state fair has a water sample event every year. And it's broken down into 5 regions in the state. Canandaigua won last year, Remsen up in the Adirondacks won, Malone further up in the Adirondacks won, Rotterdam and White Plains. Except for Remsen, they all go off reservoirs, they all add fluoride in their systems, and they all average between 0.7 and 1.2. Remsen, like ourselves, they draw off of wells, so they're drawing groundwater just like we are. Their numbers are a little bit lower than the 0.7, but, and those were the 3 winners of the best water in New York State. And as I discussed with the mayor a little bit ago, maybe it might be fun for the village of Horseheads to get in and enter our water sample up to the state fair and see where we maybe we'll be first, or maybe we'll be last. But
Fluoride still is not necessary in water because you're getting it, like you said, in your food, you're getting it through.
well, but water, as I've read, that water is leaching down through from stones, the soil, every other thing.
Correct.
And just like it's absorbed into the plants that we're eating, so
True, we're getting it in that source, so.
we're not gonna get away from fluoride. We can hope that we are, but it's.
Oh, no, I
And-
agree with you.
And one of the other numbers I read, if we drink 750 liters of water a day, that's a lot of water, especially with for an old guy in his bladder. He's not gonna hold up well,
Like that.
but well, those are the numbers I read.
We can,
That it will, then you're getting into dangerous category. You know, it's like if you eat 5 pounds of salt a day. Yeah, they're gonna say salt's gonna kill you. Sure it is. You know,
But
my
you're
mother tried to
adding-
kill me many years ago.
That's
She
what
made
I'm
me
saying.
drink my little cap of
I
fluoride.
remember.
And
we
then
take
she
olive oil.
gave me cookies and cake, homemade cookies and cake. So if she didn't kill me with the fluoride, she was gonna kill me with the sugar anyways, but I still loved her. So,
But if it's naturally in there, why are we adding it, is my question, and they are doing more research on the IQ, and if it's in our food, are we
which-
getting too much?
and we can get into this whole discussion, go back and forth, but which side of the fence do you want to stand on?
Side is right.
Well, and that's all based on levels of consumption. Like I say, just like taking a 5-pound bag of salt a day.
But that
So,
would be your choice to do it. We don't have a choice in drinking the water. I guess it comes down to like Crest toothpaste, personal health, okay?
If you're on well water, you're drinking it. You have
I
a
know.
choice there?
No, I know that. That's not what I'm saying, but you're adding it. If
You're
it's a
adding more.
naturally
We are-
occurring thing, but to add it,
But I
Adding
just,
additional to what's already there.
that's a discussion for
that's
another
why
day,
you
another
get the
time. I
higher
understand and you have your opinion. I still,
her opinion
I'm-
is very valuable.
I'm not saying it's not. But I think we have to look at the whole equation, not just which way the wind's blowing today. So that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, George. Ron?
This is my first full year on the board as a trustee, so it's been a learning experience. And I too have many questions, as the mayor knows, as Nate knows, and as Donnie found out yesterday. Thank you, sir, for your time. I spent a little time with you, but I did get my answer to my question. So I see that the data, so now I have facts. Appreciate that. I'll see you again. Okay. Thanks. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Real quick.
Yes.
I wanted to go back to our grant and local share situation.
Oh, yeah.
With everything that we have applied for, that we are going to be applying for in this next budget year, including the 27 construction piece, we have $8.2 million in potential awarded grant. That our local share for all of those grants is 1.5 million. The village cannot fundraise, but residents can fundraise. Okay, we will get to a point, there's at 8.2 million, we will have to take short-term loans out in order to get the money for this grant. We don't have 8.2 million in our fund balance. It's the same mentality that we had when we did the WIA grant, short-term loan for the 5 million, so that we could get 3 million in grant. Okay, and of course, we're paying back 2 million over the course of 30 years. Okay, so I just want to bring it out that there will become a point in time where we have to take serious looks at how many grants we're going to write with the local share of what it's at. Okay. Nothing against grants, but you gotta have that local share from someplace. Okay. There are very, very, very few grants that are 100% no local share. Okay, so I just want to bring that to everybody's attention. When we want more, do more, doesn't matter if it's the fire department, the police department, whenever there's a grant involved, it's reimbursable, money up front,
Our money up front.
our money up front, local share.
Is the possibility of us getting a list?
Yeah, I can
and
produce that.
Looking at that list,
Absolutely.
because, one department could come in one this month, another next month, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth.
And that's why we have the grant authorization policy that we went through tonight to write that grant.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I can provide a list for you as to what grants we've got out there that we're
Well,
expecting,
I think
that
would
we've
be
written
good,
for.
because I'm sure I don't remember all of them.
No, it's not anticipated, but what I'm saying is when we talk about more grants down the road,
Right.
these are the things that we have to consider of what we already have, what's left in our fund balance and what we can do.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to echo what the deputy mayor had to say. Thank you for coming out tonight. One of the things that were mentioned about the Youth Bureau. And I do thank Al for stating in his comments that the Youth Bureau was a town venture. About 2 weeks ago, I had the privilege, as I do every month, going to the town of Horsehead's night meeting. It was a good opportunity. It's an opportunity that all of you as village residents can partake in, because you as village residents are town residents. You as village residents that are town residents have the ability to ask the town board where their funding is. These grants that you saw forth tonight were what the village is planning to do. The town is also looking at partnering and trying to move forward as a whole. This is very exciting information, as it's what I've been trying to get going for the last 18 months. So we will look, but I advocate for everybody to go to the town board meetings as much as you go tonight to hear and ask them about their spending on parks and recreation. I am no stranger to the Youth Bureau, with 1.5 years at the Horseheads Youth Bureau and another 13 years at the Chemung County Youth Bureau. We know that whenever we come into office, we have a certain amount. This is the actual scope of the land. We know that we have infrastructure needs somewhere between 12 to 24 million. Where tonight, and I'm very thankful that the people came out tonight for the pool. We have also to honor what we do for infrastructure for our fire department and what we have to do to honor infrastructure for our DPW, all buildings that are failing. So, as Nate says, even if there was $1 billion worth of grants, we are limited by what we can do and what we can short-term extend ourselves for. That's my report on the Youth Bureau. To the parks, you talk about Saget Park. I looked that up. It is as wonderful as you say.
I know.
It is under the purview of the city of Portland, which by no means is, no, it is a much bigger organization and a much grander budget.
That I didn't know.
Yep, and that's fine. What I would challenge and what I will look into is, I think what it comes down to is when you take out that 6 million we added for the grants, we have about a $6 million operating budget. It needs to be, there's a percentage. When I go and I present the budget, we have a percentage. And yes, the two most expensive departments for the village is police and DPW. DPW being 400,000 of that being what you guys do for chips. We have been increasing our spend in village recreation. We will never get that to the critical mass of what we saw with park staff that plentiful in the summer. Those numerous things, I was too in youth court as well. That's something that the percentage that we would need to gross up recreation to match all that would overextend us very easily. So we need to work together and make sure that all municipalities, they have the word Horseheads on it, are contributing to what they can for parks and recreation. Last, the formal vote on fluoride data. That did occur. In October of, I believe it was October of 2024. Prior to that, and it is on the infrastructure report that's posted on the website, the county of Chemung, along with, I believe, New York State, came in and did an audit and an inspection of all of our wells. That had a numerous amount of fixes we had to do. Nate, the water staff, did a great job of fixing all the in hand, the low hanging fruit. What was left was somewhere of approximately $400,000 that states that the fluoridic acid has to be housed in a separate building. If the fluoride in its undiluted state was to leave the barrel that it comes in and mix with the chlorine gas, we would have a giant natural hazard. That is not up for interpretation. That's New York State's stance. We knew at that time that we were losing over 100 million gallons of water. And we knew that the amount of infrastructure investment, such as the pool, such as the fire department, such as the pool building and the DPW, was also lacking, that we could never afford to put in $400,000 of local user fee money to build those buildings to house the fluoride. This is all independent to an opinion, should or we should not have fluoride. At that point in time in October of 2024, as New York State keenly does, as Manager Nagel states, every grant has a local share, except when politics get involved. And the wise people of Albany have put out Department of Health.
Yes.
Department of Health has 100% state grant for keeping fluoride in the water. This is obviously a Democratic objective. So when they do that, it's all free money. When they want to help with the WIA grant, that's a 40% local share. And that's when you get a $5 million check and you got to give $2 million of it back. At that time, there was a formal vote by this board, and that vote was very simple. We get the grant for the 400,000 with no local share. Fluoride stays in, doesn't go in, it's already in. That goes in, that stays in, and the infrastructure is built to properly house the fluoride, 100% paid for by New York State. We also, in that vote, decided that if we do not get the grant, fluoride will be removed, not on a medical basis. None of us here are doctors, none of us here are medical professionals, but for a financial situation that we can't spend $400,000 to now meet those new code requirements. So that's the vote that took place in October of 2024. What you have, or what will be distributed in days to come, is a fluoride fact sheet. I've been waiting since the 2024 water quality report was issued. There, as always with Facebook and always with social media, I have never taken opinion pro or against fluoride. What I do take an opinion against is misinformation. Misinformation that assumes negative or wrong facts about our department. Our water department, regardless of where you stand with fluoride, does an amazing job. And they do an amazing job producing the hundreds of millions of gallons of water that we consume throughout the system. I ask everybody to please look at this. If you have any questions, the last section of the handout states exactly what you should do. The same exact things that are being done now. Come to the meetings, give phone calls. We are accessible. I will say again, we are the only municipal board in Chemung County that publishes our cell phone numbers and publishes our email addresses. Nobody is more accessible than us. Please call us, please contact us. I don't know of any one board member here, to include myself, that would ignore a call. So let us know. We're here for you. Please give this a read. I take pride in what I published here. It is not as true with the infrastructure report. It is not my numbers. It's not my statements. I have cited all the sources combating what was misrepresented on Facebook. We will move on. 2025, 2026 has a bunch of objectives, has brand new mayoral committees that we have never seen in the village that will be producing new and great services in the village of Horseheads. We will move forward. With that being said, do I have an emotion for an adjournment?
Make a motion for adjournment.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. The meeting's dismissed.
I wanted to stay with looking, but I'll say.
Yeah, I got her.
My grandmother.
Which is for?
Thank you.